Hello and welcome back to the Vibe English Learning Podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Monica. We're excited to have you with us today.
Today we're diving into a topic that is super important for anyone learning English: how to effectively memorize vocabulary.
That's right. Learning new words is important, but let's be honest, it's not always easy. Have you ever learned a bunch of words and then forgot them the next week?
Oh, totally. That happens a lot. But don't worry, you're not the only one. Many learners have the same problem.
Exactly. Many learners face this challenge, but the good news is that memorizing words doesn't have to be hard or boring. There are smarter and easier ways to make new vocabulary stick.
In today's episode, we'll share some great strategies to help you remember new words faster and use them confidently in everyday life.
By the end of this episode, you'll understand why people often forget words quickly, how to avoid common mistakes, and how to make learning new words fun and effective. And we'll share tools and small habits you can try every day.
Are you ready? Let's get started. Monica, so let's start with a simple question. Why is vocabulary so important for learning English? Why focus on it so much?
Great question. Words are like the building blocks of a language. If you want to speak, read, or write in English, you need words. Without enough vocabulary, it's hard to say what you want.
Exactly. Think about learning English like building a house. Words are the base. Without enough words, even if your grammar is perfect, you can't really build sentences. You can't really communicate properly.
So if you understand grammar rules, but still feel stuck when you try to speak or write, it's probably a vocabulary issue. Getting more words really does help your overall English ability.
That's right. You can talk about your day, your feelings, your ideas. It becomes easier to understand others and be understood.
So building your vocabulary is a big step forward. And don't worry, we'll show you how to make it easier.
Totally. Memorizing vocabulary is the foundation of learning a language, but so many people face challenges. Let's discuss some common struggles we hear over and over again from learners. The first one, probably the most frustrating, is forgetting words right after you've memorized them.
Exactly. Many people feel like they've done all that work for nothing when they forget so quickly.
Another big one is motivation. Let's be honest, memorizing vocabulary can be really boring at times.
For sure, it's easy to lose interest and struggle to keep pushing through the process.
Another big issue is using the wrong memorization methods. Just cramming without understanding the context doesn't really help.
Exactly, you might memorize a word, but if you don't know how to use it, what's the point? It's just like trying to remember a bunch of random numbers.
And then there's the time factor. People are busy with work, school, family. Sometimes you barely even have 10 minutes a day to study.
Totally. And when you're exhausted after a long day, sitting down to study vocabulary feels like climbing a mountain. So in this episode, we'll explore these challenges in more detail and set the stage for some effective strategies.
Absolutely. We're here to help you tackle these vocabulary struggles head on.
Now let's move on to some common mistakes learners make when memorizing words. These are important to avoid to make sure you're on the right track.
One of the biggest mistakes I see is learning words in isolation. While it's great to learn new vocabulary, just memorizing a word without understanding its context or how it's used in real conversations doesn't help much in the long run.
That's right. You can remember a word, but if you don't know how to use it in a sentence or in real life, you won't be able to actually speak with it. It's better to learn words in context, whether through sentences, stories, or conversations, so that you understand their true meaning and usage.
Another mistake is cramming too many words at once. Some people try to learn 50 or even 100 words in one day, thinking they'll remember them all magically, but that's not how our brains work.
That's just too much. The brain can't hold that many new words at once, and cramming doesn't give the brain enough time to absorb and process the vocabulary.
Right. It's smarter to study just a few words at a time and come back to them often. Also, many learners fall into the trap of not reviewing regularly.
They might learn new words, but if they don't review them often enough, they forget them just as quickly.
Without regular practice and review, it's hard to make those words stick. Consistency is key. Even spending a few minutes each day reviewing can make a big difference in your vocabulary retention.
Another mistake is fearing mistakes. A lot of learners are afraid to use new words because they don't want to make errors.
But the truth is, making mistakes is part of the learning process. It's much better to try using the word in conversation and get it wrong than to never use it at all.
Exactly. The more you use the word, the more you'll learn from your mistakes.
Lastly, some learners stick to the same vocabulary and don't challenge themselves with more complex words.
If you only focus on easy, basic words, you won't expand your vocabulary as much as you could. It's important to keep pushing yourself and learning words that stretch your vocabulary range.
That's a great point. Don't be afraid to go beyond the basics. Challenge yourself with new, more advanced vocabulary.
As you get more comfortable with the language, it'll help you sound more fluent and express yourself more clearly.
So, to summarize, here are some common mistakes to avoid when memorizing words.
1. Learning words in isolation. Always learn words in context to understand their usage.
2. Cramming all at once. Break up your learning into smaller, manageable chunks.
3. Not reviewing regularly. Make consistent review a part of your learning routine.
4. Fearing mistakes. Don't be afraid to use new words and make mistakes.
5. Sticking to easy words. Challenge yourself with more complex vocabulary.
Great recap, Monica. Avoiding these mistakes will help you memorize words more effectively and use them confidently.
Now that we've discussed the common struggles with memorizing words, let's talk about smart strategies that can help you memorize new vocabulary effectively and make it stick.
Monica, what's the first strategy you'd recommend for learners?
One of the best ways to memorize new words is through contextual learning. Don't just learn a word by itself. Try using it in a sentence or short story. If you see how the word works in real situations, it's easier to remember and use.
Great point. For example, if you're learning the word describe, instead of just memorizing its meaning, you could learn a sentence like, "Can you describe your favorite book?" Or, "She described her plans for the vacation."
By seeing the word in different situations, it becomes more meaningful, right?
That's right. And it's not just about learning the word in a single sentence.
Exactly. The more examples you see and use, the better. You could create your own sentences or read stories to see how the word is used in different contexts.
Second, try learning synonyms together. For example, words like beautiful, pretty, and attractive all have similar meanings.
Yes, this doesn't just give you more words. It helps you understand the small differences between them, like when to use pretty versus attractive. Pretty describes someone who looks cute or lovely. For example, you might say, "She has a pretty smile."
And what about attractive?
Attractive is broader. It refers to overall appeal, including personality. So someone can be attractive for their charm or confidence, not just looks.
Got it. So pretty is more specific, while attractive covers a wider range.
Exactly. Understanding these slight differences really helps in choosing the right word.
That's really useful, especially for writing. What's next?
The third tip is to use image memory. Our brains are great at remembering pictures. Try to visualize the word, especially if it's something concrete like food or an animal.
What about more abstract words like idea?
You can still use images. Maybe picture a light bulb turning on for idea, or connect it to a feeling or scene that represents it for you. Make it personal.
Clever. What's the next tip?
Fourth, break down words into syllables. It can really make things easier. For example, if you're trying to memorize the word information, you can split it into 4 syllables. In-for-ma-tion.
That makes sense. Big words can seem scary. It makes pronunciation much easier.
Right. No matter if you're learning phonetics or natural pronunciation, it's super important to nail down the correct pronunciation of a word before you start memorizing it.
Exactly. And don't just read it. Listen to audio, say it out loud a few times, get used to how it sounds.
Totally. And that often leads to better memory. All right, tip number 5. Learn words in groups by their root.
Oh, really? How does that work?
English words are mainly made up of prefixes, roots, and suffixes. For example, the root port means carry. So portable means something that can be carried, transport means to carry across, and import means to carry in.
Wow, that really unlocks a lot of words. And what's the 6th tip?
The sixth tip is to use thematic vocabulary. Learn words in groups based on a topic.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. When you learn words by category, it just feels way more organized and easier to remember. Like, let's say you're learning words about kitchen stuff. You can group words like spoon, fork, knife, plate, and microwave.
Exactly. Or group vegetables like carrot, broccoli, and onion. You could also group feelings like happy, sad, and angry. Doing this makes it easier to link the words to real-life situations, so you're not just memorizing random words, you're learning in context.
All right, let's sum up our 6 powerful tips.
First, learning in context. 2. Learn synonyms together. 3. Use image memory. 4. Break words into syllables. 5. Learn roots and prefixes. 6. Study by theme.
Those are all really practical. It feels less like just memorizing lists and more like actively building connections. Now let's circle back to that forgetting problem. Why do we forget words so easily even with good methods? And what's the scientific way to beat that?
This is where it gets exciting. Effective word learning isn't just about trying harder. It's about using smart strategies based on how memory works. Chris, have you ever heard of the forgetting curve?
Yeah, it shows how fast we forget things after learning them. Most people don't realize how quickly our memory fades.
Exactly. The curve was first discovered by a German scientist, Hermann Ebbinghaus. He found that our memory fades quickly over time. You might forget 42% of what you just learned within 20 minutes and 74% within a single day.
Wow, that's fast. It means that if we don't review what we learn, our brain basically throws it away.
So now that we know how our brain works when it comes to memory, now let's move on to one of the most powerful strategies, spaced repetition.
Oh yes, I love that method. Once I started using it, I stopped forgetting words so fast. It's like training your brain to keep the words longer.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, it's not about studying more, it's about reviewing smarter.
Yes, spaced repetition means reviewing the same words over time, with breaks in between. You don't just cram everything in one day.
Totally. Let's break it down step by step. For the best results, your first review should be within 1 to 2 days after learning the new words.
Exactly. Because if you wait too long, your brain already starts to forget. So let's say I learned the word improve today. I'd review it again tomorrow or the day after.
Then you can review again on day 4, day 8, day 15, and day 30. That one really helps the word sink into your long-term memory.
But Monica, I think a lot of learners will say, I'm too busy. I don't have time to plan all those review dates.
That's true, which is why there's a simplified version. You plan your review by week. So in week 1, just focus on learning new words. Then in week 2, you review last week's words and learn new ones. In the 3rd week, review the words from the previous 2 weeks and add new vocabulary. Keep building on what you've learned.
And just keep building like that. Each week, you're reviewing the older words while learning new ones.
Exactly. But wait, here's something learners always worry about. What if I have too many words to review? It gets overwhelming.
I get that. It used to happen to me too. The trick is, don't try to review every word every time.
Right. During your review, just focus on the words you still forget or struggle with. When you review the same set of words the first and second times, you can just listen or read through them without much thought, since you're still getting familiar.
Exactly. But by the 3rd review, start testing yourself on the words you find particularly challenging.
Circle the words that you struggle with. Then focus on those words in your next review, skipping the ones you already know. When you find that you've completely memorized a word, you can erase the circle and stop reviewing it. This method helps you avoid endless reviews and keeps your learning efficient.
I love that. It keeps your review list short and focused.
And it saves your time, which means you'll actually keep going.
All right, Monica, so we've talked a lot about spaced repetition, but I guess the next big question is, how do we actually make it more effective?
Great question. And that's where something called active recall comes in. It is a learning technique where instead of just reading or reviewing notes passively, you force your brain to pull information out, like testing yourself.
So it's not just reviewing the material, it's more like trying to remember it without any help.
Exactly. Instead of rereading your word list 10 times, you close your notebook and try to remember the meanings of each word on your own.
So it's like a workout for your brain.
Yes. And the more effort your brain uses to recall, the stronger the memory becomes.
Now that makes sense. But why does this work so much better than just rereading?
Great question. When you try to recall something, your brain has to search through its memory network. That activates more brain connections.
So you're basically strengthening the memory pathway each time you recall.
Exactly. And on top of that, when you forget something, that's a signal.
A signal for what?
That your brain needs more exposure to that item. It's feedback, and this feedback helps you focus better next time.
So now that we know active recall is powerful, how do we actually use it to memorize English words?
There are a few really good ways. The first one is super simple. Use flashcards.
Oh yeah, like write the English word on one side and the meaning on the other?
Exactly, and don't just flip the card right away. Look at the word and try to recall the meaning before turning it over.
Nice! So it's like giving yourself a little quiz instead of just reading over and over.
Right. It keeps your brain active instead of passive.
What about explaining what you learned to someone else? I've heard that helps too.
That's one of my favorite tricks. This can be more interactive. If I can explain a word to someone, then I really know it.
That sounds fun. And if the other person asks questions, it challenges your understanding even more.
Exactly. It forces you to go deeper and truly understand what you're saying. The last way is to practice using the vocabulary in real situations. For example, when you're speaking with a friend or writing in a journal, make a conscious effort to include the new words you've learned. This helps turn your passive vocabulary into active vocabulary.
Set small goals like using one new word each day in a sentence. The more you use the word, the more it will stick in your memory. Now that we've covered some solid strategies to memorize words, let's talk about the fun side of learning vocabulary because, honestly, learning English doesn't have to be boring, right?
For sure, Chris. When learning is fun, it's easier to stay interested and keep going. One of the ways I enjoy most is playing word connection games. You can think of a word you just learned and try to connect it to as many things as you can.
That sounds fun. Like if the word is crunchy, I might think of potato chips, fresh apples, or dry leaves. The more links you make, the easier the word stays in your memory.
Yes, you can do this alone or with a friend. It feels like playing a game, not just studying. Another fun idea is try learning vocabulary through videos.
Oh yeah, that one's super effective. Just pick a movie, a show, or even a YouTube channel you love, and pay attention to the words they use.
Exactly. And when you hear a word you don't know, just pause, look it up, and maybe even write it down with the sentence it came from.
Yeah, it helps you see how the word is actually used in real conversations, not just in a dictionary.
Speaking of shows, have you tried learning words through song? Singing along with English songs is a great way to learn new vocabulary and improve your pronunciation at the same time.
Love that. Music sticks in your head so easily. And for the gamers out there, or just anyone who loves a good challenge, learn vocabulary through games.
There are tons of awesome vocabulary apps on the market, like WordUp or Super Vocabulary King. These apps are designed with highly interactive games that make learning feel less like work and more like play. You're competing, you're leveling up, and you're learning.
That's fun and useful. When you get answers right, you feel proud, and that helps you keep learning.
Remember, learning doesn't have to be stressful. The more enjoyable and interactive the process is, the more likely you are to stick with it. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to remember those words.
Monica, let's not forget one of the common struggles we mentioned earlier, is that with our busy lives, it's tough to find time to memorize vocabulary.
Exactly. So what can we do about that? And what practical things can we fit into our daily routines to make learning vocabulary a bit easier?
Let's talk about some practical everyday habits you can adopt and how to make the most of your spare time.
For example, during your commute, you can listen to vocabulary audio files, review flashcards, or use a vocabulary app.
Right. Even before bed or when you wake up. Spending just 5 to 10 minutes reviewing words from the previous day or looking at new ones can be really effective.
Next, let's talk about choosing efficient tools. Picking the right resources can make a huge difference in your learning.
Absolutely. Vocabulary apps that incorporate gamification and spaced repetition, like Anki or Quizlet, can help you learn and review words more effectively. Audiobooks and podcasts are great too. Listening to topics you're interested in helps you learn new words and phrases in context.
Spending 10 to 15 minutes reading English news or articles is also effective. When you come across unfamiliar words, look them up and try to remember them.
And watching your favorite shows or movies with English subtitles can be a fun way to learn. Pause when you see an unfamiliar word and check its meaning.
Finally, creating an English environment for yourself, even if time is limited, can enhance your exposure to the language.
Setting your phone or computer language to English helps you get used to operating in an English interface.
Following English accounts on social media can also keep you engaged. Whether it's news, knowledge sharing, or humor, you can learn while scrolling.
So the takeaway is, don't let a busy schedule be an excuse. Embrace these small, consistent habits, and you'll see your vocabulary grow without feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly. Every little bit counts. We hope these practical tips help you feel more confident about fitting English into your daily routine. And remember, learning should be enjoyable, not a chore.
Now, to finish up, let's share some final tips on how to stay motivated in your vocabulary learning journey.
All right. Staying motivated is crucial. One tip is to set specific goals for your vocabulary learning.
Absolutely. Whether it's learning a certain number of new words each week or using a specific word in conversation, having goals can give you direction.
Another tip is to reward yourself when you reach those goals. It could be something small, like treating yourself to a snack or watching an episode of your favorite show.
That's a great way to keep the motivation high. Also, find a study buddy or a group to learn with. You can share tips and keep each other accountable.
And don't forget to mix things up. Use different methods and resources to keep your learning fresh and exciting.
Exactly. Variety can make a big difference. Whether it's apps, games, or books, finding what works best for you is key.
To wrap it up, we hope you feel more confident in your vocabulary learning journey. If you keep using the strategies we've shared, stay consistent, and don't be afraid to have fun with it, you'll definitely see progress.
Absolutely. Remember, the key to mastering vocabulary is to make it part of your daily life.
Use those words in conversation, make connections, and keep challenging yourself. The more you engage with the language, the better you'll get.
That's right, and don't hesitate to share your progress with others. It can be motivating to hear feedback and encouragement.
So if you found today's episode helpful, make sure to subscribe and leave your comments. Your feedback helps us improve.
And feel free to share this podcast with friends who might benefit from these tips.
Thanks for tuning in today. We can't wait to bring you more tips and strategies in our next episode.
Until next time, keep speaking, keep learning, and most importantly, keep growing your vocabulary.
Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.